Join us for some relaxed conversations in a relaxed mood yourself as we discuss on diabesity, diabetes and obesity through these unique D talks. Malhar, diabetes and obesity, the numbers in the country are going crazy. Latest is 24 crores or so are diabetics and pre-diabetics, and around 36 crores are obese. Means waistline is beyond acceptable norms. So 60 crores out of 145, 146 crores. So I think it's time that we just kind of sit back and think over this and talk about this for the benefit of many in terms of deeper insights beyond programs, beyond sessions, just informally connect. So maybe you can just share with the obesity journey a little bit. How are you seeing it, experiencing it with people? What's really going on?
Yeah, it's been quite fascinating to see how people have suddenly woken up to the whole vanity movement which came from the social media networks. It's sort of like COVID brought to life a lot of things that were hidden. We didn't know people had so many medical conditions, and similarly, once people started going onto social media, I think it divided the world into two parts: those who are willing to put themselves out there, and those who are not. And those who are not, it brought out a lot of their. It was a lot of obesity basically, that they felt that, oh God, I don't look good enough to belong on a platform. And that created a vicious cycle again. 1 out of 2 people are almost there, above 27, 28 BMI. Obesity, as you know, finally it's an environmental disease. I mean, if you have one house with the same food being cooked and 4 people eating it, after some time, it's going to affect all four. It's a matter of time. So it's very contagious, to use the right word. But I think diabetes also, in a way, does become a little contagious.
I think many people before getting diabetic are actually in a space ki it's not me, मुझे नहीं होने वाला, because I think what's happened is maybe 1990s, we all know we just opened up to the world, and I think incomes from 1990 to now 2023 or so, in 33 years, must have become 6 to 10 times for many people. And yeah, there are two categories of people I see. One are the ones who are in, let's say, 60s, okay, where it is kind of crept in slowly over a period of time. And the other are, let's say, the ones in 40s and 45s and all, where after a certain degree of abuse or lack of attention, and then thinking मुझे थोड़ी होगा. I mean, it's just that pancreas getting tired because of the resistance and all of that, and it's like in the face, a sudden annual checkup, and ouch.
Usually it's an insurance checkup, I've seen. When they're told after 40 that you won't get an insurance policy, especially LIC, or the government policies are very clear, you have to submit. And that's when they go, and that's when they first time realize that it's that side of the numbers, and that panic sets in. How did this happen to me? Because a parent got diabetic at 60 odd, and you're in your early 40s, and the first panic comes is, what about my 18-year-old, 17-year-old?
Correct.
And then, as we are seeing now, I mean, 3 generations are getting, attending our sessions, and that's in a way is what's prompting us to, go back to square one and get back to awareness rather than focus just on reversing. We're now looking at, I think in the next generation it's going to be 1 out of maybe 2
Could be.
could be in every house. That's a scary thought. I mean,
I think the numbers are already scary. 60 crores is very, very scary that way. And I think the insidiousness, the slowness of the whole thing is the most dangerous thing I find. Because it's like 20s, 30s, 40s, and that slow creep of the waistline, or lack of physical activity, and it's just kind of boiling frog, as we call it, boiling frog situation, that the temperature is rising, you're not really paying attention so much, you're busy, and then the whole, some symptoms suddenly coming up, either annual checkup, or some infection which is not going away, or suddenly energy loss, or whatever. I think people are aware of the symptoms now largely, but I think as a country, 60 crores insidiously, slowly getting into a zone which is so damaging for their system is scary.
in a way, marinating in sugars. It's just going straight to the furnace, but it's very difficult, I find, creating urgency, convincing people of something they haven't really seen on a lab report yet, or there's a lot of denial.
Yeah, that I'm still a pre-diabetic, that kind of a thing.
This labeling thing becomes very.
Or let's say I might be overweight, but all my labs are normal. All my labs are normal.
Yeah, I'm physically not normal, but my labs are normal. Yeah, I don't look normal, but yeah, I work 18 hours a day, but my labs are normal. So that, and I think it's very social now, with that disposable incomes starting to rise, that the amount of convenience apps which have come on from, like I had seen a friend of mine the other day, I went to their house and the maid servant walked up in the living room and said, there's no dal. Now, a traditional mindset would have said, I'll just get it and come. We'll get up, quickly put on the two-wheeler, just go get it to the neighborhood shop. The shop's not even 100 meters away, or in some cases in the building itself. All they did was open the app, opened something, clicked a button, and it was there in 10 minutes. So that little bit of physical activity exchange, that little bit of calorie expenditure, not even maybe 100 calories at the most, but even that all we did is continue to sit in the chair, and in 2 seconds it came. And the beauty is, along with that app, the supermarket principle happened. You quickly ordered 2 soft drinks also, and you quickly ordered a couple of more snacks, salty items. So we just, suddenly it went from 100, 150 rupee order to a 600 rupee snack, and that's just how that inflation is happening. It's convenience ordering, but that's one part of it. To me, the larger worrisome thing is that we are becoming very developed in our habits. The whole Western tendency that I have the money, I'm entitled to certain level of convenience, and it's a kind of a social expression of having arrived also. I have 2 maid servants, 3 men. These are the numbers you talked about, are primarily urban, I feel. I don't think our rural has got hit by that level of.
Interestingly, rural side also has got hit. Percentage is lower than the urban, as expected.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's completely alien to, or completely kind of isolated from the problem.
There will still be less nutritional though, I feel. I think it will be a little more on the side of financial stress or other kinds of. There will be more, of course the genetic elements are there, but I think nutritional wise they are a little more lower on the daily intake, I guess, as much. And of course there's no outside food, the conventional ordering.
I think in India, one of the biggest mistakes that gets done in every family is the sheer percentage loading of carbohydrates in a plate. So even if you look at a rural, I think what they're able to handle in terms of rotis and rice in the 20s is very different than what they can handle in 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
So the numbers don't go down so much in terms of the
Yeah.
rotis
Calorie
or the
wise,
amount
yeah.
of rice, but the metabolic rate has changed, the activity levels have changed. So even whether it's a urban or the rural
Yeah.
setup, uh, I think just that 50-60% of carb loading in a plate unknowingly, and it's got that amazing sweet taste,
Yeah. And I think for vegetarians it's more. It's not just 50, 60%. I think it goes up to 80%, because a lot of our vegetables again also, do tend to be carbs in origin. So there is also a little more, and then we deep fry carbs also as a starter. So I feel we are carbitarians, no, as it's called. We are not vegetarians or non-vegetarians. As a community, we are very carb, and again now with the disposable incomes, what's come in is the bakery. Bakery is very convenient. You just press a button, you have it. And again, we could keep discussing causes, but at the end of the day, my personal viewpoint is the epidemic in India is because we as a country love watching exercise. We don't love doing it. Like we can watch cricket for hours without playing it for years. We can watch people, a Virat Kohli get fitter and fitter and fitter and keep debating whether what diet he's on, but not once talk about what any of us is doing. And when it comes to you, you'll say, "Oh, doesn't apply to me." We'll change the question. So that I think it's time that every family culturally adopt a very baseline level of responsibility when it comes to health. Of course, starting with the kitchen, it's never going to, can't get away from that. But physical activity to me is the holy grail of health, because I don't think we're going to win the calorie war. I don't think so. I mean, there are restaurants in every building next to convenience stores, which are the kirana shops. Next to that, there's a pharmacy. And the irony is, you will go to both these, and what choices you make in these two decide with what frequency you go to the pharmacy. So these three are the only sustainable businesses I find today. People keep opening restaurants, they keep opening kirana shops, they keep opening pharmacies.
Sweet shops also.
Sweet shops, of course, that's the celebration part of it. So, I mean, these 4 shops, if you take, like I said, that, and then gyms keep closing down. You see gyms open and then they close down because of the infrastructure cost, the manpower cost. It's not affordable, and the amount of dropout, and people keep saying it's their business model. Everybody, they don't want you to not come. They would love it if you come year on year and year on year, and in fact bring your family. But we tend to believe that, if I pay in the month of Jan, I'll probably never come back. So it's better not to pay at all. But I usually tell patients, if you go one day in a week for 50 weeks, it's still better than not having gone at all. It's a start. But we are a very value for money, and we're still stuck that way in the 90s.
They're happy doing the yoga, no? They'll do the Kapalbhati
Yeah,
and the walk, 45-minute walk.
Yeah, the walk and the ubiquitous walk with the
Few
yoga is.
asanas.
And you're idealizing somebody who is, for all practical purposes, a monk who doesn't have the social life that you have, who's living a very frugal lifestyle. He's not driven by consumption. So that personality type who is a yogi in general is a very, low maintenance kind of person. He's not eating 2,500 calories that you're eating. So you can't just pull it off by saying, I'm going to do 12 Surya Namaskars every day and listen to some, stuff, and that's it. That's my exercise for the day. You'll have wiped that off by breakfast on a calorie model, what's called the CICO, calories in, calories out model. I mean, you'll have wiped it off by 9 a.m. So it's not that simple, and then it's not future proofing you either. The whole game that we are playing here today is to somewhere age gracefully, right? I mean, like I was telling you the other day, that life expectancy in the last 40 years post World War II is now 75 to 80 in second world, third world and first world countries. It's on par because we have the level of healthcare now to keep you alive.
Correct.
We have the vaccinations, we have everything, we have sanitation. So, and the most important thing is emergency medical care. Today you have a a heart attack or any kind of sudden condition, a road traffic accident, within 10 minutes you're sitting in an emergency room. So you will be stabilized to the best of their ability and sent back home. So you're going to pull off 80 years. Now, if you have a metabolic illness showing up at 35, that's 55 years of medicine assisted
Correct.
existence. Now, the question is not whether you're going to take the medicines, whether they're good for you, bad for you. Those are debates that can go on. But how many years and did you bring it on yourself? I mean,
I think that's another mindset, medicine hai na. Yeah, I mean, medicines are there, no?
yeah, they're there. They're there.
They're there, no? I mean, it's not that we don't need medicines, we do need medicines,
Yeah.
but I think that kind of, it's quite complex that way. The reality, the way it is, whatever's happening, is definitely happened because of trying to solve certain problems in a previous time frame. Okay, like one of the thing of systems thinking I love is that today's problems have come from yesterday's solutions. And and whatever today's problems we are going through, diabetes, obesity, diabesity, they have somewhere come from yesterday's solutions too. So let's say, okay, we are solving the problem of convenience through food, fair enough. We are moving in a certain format, benefiting certain number of people, but there's an exaggeration of that, and then there's a pandemic happening from that perspective. Exercise is still not fully understood, adopted, integrated, and medications, if you look at, this whole wave, that's an older wave, more than 150-year-old wave, whereby you have an ill and I've got a pill. You have an ill, I've got a pill. Whatever ill you have, I have a medicine for that and I'll fix it up. Whether it's a headache, whether it's acidity, whether it's an infection. And I think there's been a wonderful battle that has happened long back between Louis Pasteur, Claude Bernard, and Pasteur on the deathbed. I don't know, this story may not be known by everyone. But Louis Pasteur was the germinator, the person who kind of came up with the germ theory. And on his deathbed only he mentioned that 4 sentences. He said, maybe I was wrong. And the systems theory which was getting propounded that time, Bernard was right. And germ is not everything. And the system is everything. But by that time, we needed germ theory big time that time.
Yeah.
We needed the answer to cholera and plague, and we needed the answer to all kind of typhoid and other issues which actually would wipe out millions of people. We got the medicines in place, but then we started chasing diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol in a similar manner. I think that at a social level has become a very big problem in terms of mindset, because it's a systemic problem. And medicines are needed, they are helpful, we will be using them, but it's not something that is solving the problem or making you safe, because what's also happening is there are people who are ending up in a lot of complications despite being on medicines, heart and kidney and so many things.
So medicines are not bad. It's a germ theory, and now people are treating diabetes in the same way they treated the germs, by taking a pill for every ill. So, what do you think? Where should they go from here? I mean, what's the primary? Again, it comes back to that single cause theory. Where back in the cancer research, everyone tried to find the cause, and we still haven't found one. We've been trying to blame viruses, then at times you blame smoking,
Stress.
then you blame stress. There's always looking for a singular cause of a particular problem. Now, diabetes again is classically called multifactorial. Obesity is called multifactorial. So, where does a person start? Since we're starting with the end we're first taking the tablet without going for we're bypassing the cause.
I don't know, it's such a diverse thing, because after handling thousands of people and meeting and talking face to face also, I think the motivation is so individualistic in a manner. Like, there could be people who would take up health more seriously out of fear. Just, oh my God, my HbA1c is 9
Yeah.
and 10 and 11. You know, the fear itself motivates for action. Or a heart attack has happened, okay, I quit smoking now, type kind of thing. So either a bad report,
Reactive, yeah.
either a bad report or uh, an event, you know, literally
Yeah,
an
yeah.
event. Like the other day, we were showing a video of a 45-year young man with a stroke now.
Yeah.
I mean, those are very, very strong triggers
Yeah,
for change. But again, there could be a limited population which will go through that. I think on the other side, for younger population also, the other thing is I see a loved one,
Yeah.
a marriage, or you know, looking forward to
Yeah, there's
you know,
rejection
having
happening on the marriage market, so that becomes a very strong trigger.
very
Yeah.
strong
Opposite sex
motivator.
rejection in a way we found so many of them come and suddenly I want to lose weight tomorrow because there's been a spate of rejections, like 10, 15 rejections, and then you have to convince them that you lose the weight. What do we do about the self-esteem? What do we do about the other damage? So that unfolds later. 2 years down the line, you realize you're married someone who's not emotionally stable or independent, very dependent on, and now of course the dependencies have become a lot more consumable. You just social media or whatever. But
Yeah, that's a part of the choice they make in terms of the partner. But what I've realized, and I was talking with a psychologist recently, is the biggest healer is a therapeutic relationship. Okay, a therapeutic relationship means the psychologist may come, and we know the younger generation is going through a lot more of psychiatric medication, anxiety, depression, all of that. But a stable relationship, okay, typically boyfriend, girlfriend, or it could be friends also, where you know they're getting to pick up the phone in the morning and talk, and before going, you know, saying good night, talking, connecting, all of that. That is a very, very big healer and also a motivator. And of course, the choice that they make in terms of whom they are choosing to, it's again very, very complex, and God's play and all.
it is a lot of
comes over
layering
there.
now. There's a lot of layering. I read a funny story the other day. A friend of mine said her children were going to the US to study in postgrad, and because of COVID, they had all created an online persona of who they are. So they had uploaded a certain photo as their DP photos for their college website.
Okay.
And now the college said you have to show up in the month of December. And there was a panic among all 100 of those students because the person that they had depicted themselves as, they were nowhere near that person.
Oh my God.
So they had shown photos of someone thinner, someone slimmer, someone fitter, and they weren't celebrities they were projecting. They were just different people.
So they were putting up
They were
false
putting
photo.
up false photos.
Oh shit.
So
This
now
is
there was a
weird.
panic. So the parents were having a hard time convincing the children to go to college because they said, "How will we go there? We don't look like that." These are like weird things which at our time just didn't exist.
Didn't exist. I think the obesity crisis in the younger population has a much more complex
And a long-term
social media.
and it has a much longer term effect that I think we have yet to unfurl. We have simply seen the short term effects of a little consumerism or little dopamine addiction or little like, share, subscribe reels. It's very short term, and I think every generation copes with it has its what do we call addictions. Like we fell into TV a little bit. It's not that we didn't while away time. We also whiled away plenty of time. But at the end of the day, it came back to a few pillars. There was physical activity. There just wasn't so much eating out. Entertainment wasn't 1,000 rupee meal at any situation. Today, $1,000 if you go out for a kid, any teenager steps out today, they spend $1,000.
Easily.
And what I find fascinating is for all of us also today. Now, you live closer to office that I've seen. For those of us that don't, if you leave home, you will eat something outside. It is not possible that you will go back home without having had a coffee, a sandwich, ice cream, a protein bar. You will snack or you will have one meal outside. Now, again, typically, as you know, as we when we check reporting of people, they always believe they don't eat anything. I mean, you know how many times we hear that statement from patients, ki, I don't eat anything. And these are 120, 130 kg, even the 80 kg persons who are high fat. So proportionate for their body type, they do have a higher fat percent, but their mental narrative is, I barely eat. We as a race, especially, and I haven't treated many non-Indians, but Indians under-report what they eat, and they think they hardly eat, but when they exercise, they think they burn thousands of calories. So there is this incredible assumption that I hardly eat and I do a lot of exercise. And you're like, really? Then why isn't it showing?
Still हिल नहीं रहा है.
हिल नहीं रहा है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. But then that's the thing, कि we overestimate our exercise calorie expenditure and we severely underestimate what we eat. Severely. Like it is, I think it's by a factor of half that we overestimate and same underestimate. So, luckily nowadays, you go to a lot of restaurants, it has sort of become mandatory to write the calorie below the food. So, I was looking at, and it's all scanner menus now, you no longer have printed. So, I scanned the menu and every item in that menu was 750 calories.
Wow.
And these were just simple burritos with mayonnaise or maybe some chicken, maybe some salad. On the surface, it looks really healthy. I'm not kidding you. I had a hard time ordering. I didn't order finally. Because in my mind, if you're crossing 500 calories, you're exceeding your calorie budget when you go out. Because a home cooked meal rarely exceeds 500 because it's not 3 course. It's a single course. At the most, you'll have roti, sabji, and maybe a little rice and dal. So when you go out, if you mimic at least the calorie content, there's 750 calories for just 2 tiny servings. That shows the density of the cooking that has gone into it. The oil, the salt, maybe some butter, the mayo. It's so hidden. And if you ask an average person to guess how many calories it has, he will say 250. Because we live in the vada pav era. Where how much is a vada pav? 250 calories. Those were smaller vada pavs. Now you have gigantic vada pavs made by giant chains who have realized that if you have to charge $100 for a vada pav, you got to give him a bigger vada pav. You can't give him this much and charge 100 because we used to pay $10 and $20.
Yeah, $5 also.
Yeah.
$5 and $10.
So it's a different world, Portion sizes it's come from the American model. They about 30 years ago or 40 years ago realized that if you have to charge more than a certain amount, which in a way creates inflection in the profit margins, you have to start giving people unlimited food. So these unlimited buffets that happen, you pay a flat amount of $9.99 and eat all you like.
Yeah, there's a new place called De Danadan, 100 dishes.
Yeah.
15 sweets.
And you get an Enfield. There's one guy there also, na? If you can finish all the food, you get an Enfield.
No, that's different.
Yeah, nobody's been able to get there yet, apparently. So,
but anyway, we're discussing about how to come out. So I think there's a lot of what you're mentioning is like so-called ignorance only in a way. मतलब समझ में नहीं आ रहा है और सोशली सब लोग खा रहे हैं, सब लोग कुछ साथ में हो रहा है, and you're just in the flow of the flow, and then you get a report which is little shocking, or you find a relationship which is motivating to keep yourself fit.
You get a reason to do it.
Reason to do it.
Yeah.
I also found one more interesting thing. I think maybe it's more Indian. I think we have got a genes somewhere which doesn't want to take medicines.
Yeah, we have that.
मुझे
आयुर्वेदा करेंगे.
मुझे करेला करना है, मेरे को
मैं जूस पी लूंगा.
मैं जूस पी लूंगा, मैं एशगार्ड जूस लूंगा, लौकी जूस.
And the more hectic it is to make that concoction, the more it's attractive. Wow, it's so complex. Like काढ़ा बनाऊंगा, like आधा घंटा उसको उबालूंगा type.
Yeah, but there is a certain category of people who also having that genes inside us to not go on so-called English tablets. पुराना जमाने में ना इंग्लिश गोली टाइप्स, वो इंग्लिश गोली का असर अभी भी थोड़ा मन में है कि ओके आई एम ओके विद द नुस्कास एंड द काढ़ास एंड द आयुर्वेदा एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो बिकमिंग अ गुड मोटिवेटर. That's also being
Yeah.
motivator. Which is maybe Indian. I don't know whether Americans have a similar kida, if you want to call it as a kida. Okay, but definitely in Indians, I do see that.
There is that yeah, there is
Certain demographics.
it's an instinct, we've been grown up saying,
I want to avoid me.
is there a medicine free option?
Haan.
Is there a chance that have to take it? Can't I go try something else? And I try, yeah. And that belief is there. Once I start,
Yeah, it will not.
I have to take it forever.
Yeah, yeah.
They believe that, and I think that fear has kind of settled in. Though I think from a reversal and whatever it is that all the companies have come in now trying to do this. And what's your take on this industry as a whole? Like, where do you see and how do you see reversal becoming mainstream rather than of course the pill popping will continue, the food habit changes, little bit of exercise, but at what point do you feel now slowly that people have to start accepting the concept that there is a genuine alternative option, and you have to settle down? It shouldn't be so difficult for us and for everyone to convince them that you must control your lifestyle illnesses, whether it's 35, 45, 55, 65.
Yeah, again, it's a very complex group of activities over there. I think social media plays a huge role. We have inspirational videos and testimonials, and suddenly, Padma Bhushan, Dr. Hegdeji talking, okay, you can do this. So they are inspiring figures, there are influencers. Suddenly yoga classes are booming. So that aspect is very crucial, I think, for household level, kind of awareness and motivation that I want to reverse. I want to be free. I can do that. And I think last 5 years especially has been huge. And COVID, of course, has been a big game changer from that particular perspective. So it is definitely going to grow, but at the same time also feel that when the CEOs, CXOs and marketing, management, business development teams of McDonald's or KFC or all those people are sitting in their drawing boards and planning and organizing, I feel that somewhere there's a little spiritual also, or some of that side. It's like it's an expanding universe, so called, as is being told to us, okay, and everything is expanding. Matlab, the negative side of life is also expanding, the positive side of life is also expanding, and both are coexisting and going on and on over there. I think there are enough number of people who have the motivation to go medicine free, and they search. At the same time, there is maybe a bigger number of people who know that there is an option but still nahi karna hai, or at times even getting dissuaded by doctors, because there is again within the doctor's mindset that okay, reversal is ho raha hai, lekin dekhte hain kitne din, 6 mahina, saal bhar, you're going to come back, with a worse HbA1c, you're going to have a, what do you say, relapse, and with a greater vengeance and greater force. And I think for that community also, like going to American Diabetic Association, actually physically traveling over there, seeing thousands of people who have gathered over there, European Association for Study of Diabetes, visiting that conference, 11,000 plus delegates, online, offline, moving around, and still the talk is on the latest drugs, all kind of that stuff is there. There is a window for lifestyle medicine, okay, but still it's maybe 1% or 2%, and I think more and more researchers get published and more doctors take it on, and I think many more doctors also taking it on, because there are some smaller conferences when we go to, let's say, Bombay or Indore or Chennai, and some of our doctors also go, that we suddenly meet so many more, okay, even I've got a diabetes reversal clinic, and husband, wife, both of us are doing this. So again, it's quite complex the way it is organized, there'll be some players who would have, uh, let's say, a larger mind share, and thankfully FFD is one of them. And I think the holistic approach is helping people to register that. But there'll be a lot of unorganized sector also where these things will happen in smaller pockets in different parts of the country and the world. Social media is definitely going to have a strong influence through inspiration and influencers and testimonials as we see it, and it's going to be actually fun to see how it manifests, because 10 years back it was sheer passion, okay, and desire to do all this, and the passion continues. It's just that the challenges and the scale once it happens, and there's so many more things to think over and take care of. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Another 10 years is something, I'm sure the word reversal and being free of medications will be in many more households. Many more households.
And you'll become the first line. In
Yeah,
fact, when you
that's a
get diagnosed, the
dream.
first thing should be, okay, are you reversing it? How are you reversing it?
Yeah.
So there'll be 4 or 5 approaches, the whole keto or low carb, LCD, whatever. So, there are so many, 15 approaches, I think. But one thing that I think you've not talked about is that whole empathy map of a diabetic. When he first gets diagnosed and what happens with him. We hear that story every day, 30 times a day, but I think it bears repeating for the audience that, that narrative which every diabetic thinks his journey, his cause, his reasons are unique. And hence, the treatment will be unique. And then he has a set map in his mind what he wants, how he wants to do. Like you said, a blend of homeopathy and blend of Ayurveda, a blend of everything. But what has been your common learning over so many thousands
I
of
think
consults?
shock.
Yeah.
Shock in the beginning,
Yeah.
disbelief, denial. I think that is very common in diabetics. It can't be me. I want to recheck it.
I'm too young.
I'm too young. Don't have family history.
Yeah.
I was eating wrong things for the entire season. I ate a lot of mangoes. Diwali was bad. All those kind of things come in the beginning. There's definitely shock.
Again, the single cause theory.
Yeah.
It just happened, and it happened because of one thing.
I know.
That's the tendency is to find that one thing and then convince you that, look, just give me a pill that will undo that one thing.
No, I will. In fact, the major tendency is, okay, I want to avoid pill in the beginning
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
try
oh,
out,
yeah. Yes.
try out, managing it myself. And that goes on for a while till, the root causes are not addressed, the daily habits are not really relooked at a deeper scientific level. Medicine start, I think that's a done thing. And then you're chasing numbers then. And I think there are, again, psychographically, there are so many different people, no? Some of them are like extreme anxious and, pessimists, so they keep checking more often. And then there are these optimists who feel, कुछ नहीं होने वाला, 200 sugar है, 200 BP है, मुझे कुछ
Yeah,
नहीं
it's
होता.
almost a scam. It's
Yeah.
a pharma scam.
Pharma scam, yeah.
Thanks to WhatsApp University who convinces them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, ये सब तो.
ये 140 कैसे आया? पहले तो 160 था, पहले तो 180 था. So that also goes on. So there are different people going through different parts, but then people settle on with medicines for a while, and emotionally they are like, okay, it's a part of my life, it's like a new normal. That keeps going on for a while.
And then the second tablet starts.
Second tablets, and then
the
events.
cholesterol tablet.
Cholesterol.
Event, I think, still is a 5-10 year gestation for the younger diabetic.
Yeah.
But there's that tendency ki, I still have a lot of time to deal with this. And I think that sense of urgency is.
Sense of urgency is lost in the first 5-10 years. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Because
And we have seen in our data that reversal is best in the first 1 to 5 years. I mean, we see miraculous results there. Not just from medicine freedom, but even from the, the habit tendency. Where the optimism is so high. That famous story of that Harvard experiment where they put a mouse in the bucket and they left the mouse in the bucket initially, and within about 2 minutes or so, the mouse had drowned.
yeah.
Yeah, the rat, he drowned. And then what they did was they brought a second mouse and they put him in the same bucket. within a minute of him starting to drown, they took him out. And then they put him back again after some time. But this time, he remained afloat for 10 hours. He was struggling, but he stayed out. So the difference they found was that the second mouse had hope that somebody will save him.
Okay.
The first time, the guy had no hope. He didn't know what to expect. So he just surrendered to the environment. But the second time, the guy kept trying because he kept waiting, someone's going to save me. So similarly, I have found with diabetics and obese people, ki once you reverse, the optimism of reversal always remains. I got this damn thing under control. I have lost control of my diet, but I've not lost hope.
Right.
And I think that concept in reversal must get established, that you cannot lose hope. Because hope loss is a very contagious thing, and we find hopelessness, as we call it, in families. It's a very depressing environment, and then that's very kind of spreads to everyone. So I find that most of us, who are in this sector, half the time are just consoling people that there is still hope.
Yeah.
कुछ नहीं हुआ है, just 4 दिन diet कर लो, थोड़ा exercise कर लो, 1-2 दिन दवाई ले लो, it's not the end of the world. But people want one stop, just give me a magic bullet back to the past, and I think what I have been researching last 1 or 2 years has been the science of relapse. Who are the guys who relapse? Who are the guys who don't relapse? The optimists also relapse.
Big time.
Big time, as we have seen.
More they relapse.
Yeah, because they are so optimistic that I'm going to the gym, I'm running marathons, I can eat whatever I like.
Yeah. Or even if I don't run marathons and don't go to the gym, I'm okay.
I'm still okay. Yeah. And then there are the pessimists who are like, whatever I do, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think in all this, if you read some of the work that we read, the Martin Seligmans of the world, there has to be a rational and a reasonable response to a chronic illness. It can't be irrational and it can't be out of proportion, where you just stop going to office, you stop talking, you just get so obsessed with this one thing that it's like a solar eclipse on your life now, like everything's blocked out. I think people should understand that they're still living in a family situation, there's so many things to do. You don't have to stop everything, but you have to learn the skill. That little skill which, it's come home now, you have to learn it, and just learning to deal with it is, I think it's just paramount. I'm not even saying you have to wait for diabetes to deal with it. You should have learned the skill long back, which is the other debate in schools, But from a larger term perspective, where do you think, as the medical community, what more can they do? They have 15 seconds in a consult, or maybe a minute or 2 minutes in a consult.
I think first message that the entire medical community can start giving, especially to a newly diagnosed, is, do you want to try going for reversal first? Because there are enough number of people who are told right now also that medicine ही लगने वाला है जीवन भर, वो जाने वाला है वैकुंठ तक आपके साथ, all those kind of dialogues, we still hear it from our patients, despite so many people reversing. Still there is a significant pocket out there in the medical community who gives that messages, and I think if that message can be transformed into a positive message that, okay, boss aa gaya hai, I would like you to avoid medications, can you tighten up your seatbelt and eat more rationally and go for reversal. If that message can happen from every doctor in the country and the world, I think that will be very powerful for the participants or the patients.
Yeah, and I think also it should very important for people to remember that dosage is poison, especially when it comes to medicines. If you're taking one tablet which is necessary, it's keeping you in good range, there's no harm. But if you're taking an unnecessary load of medication, which is just not needed because of a few, it's becoming a cycle where you're eating to take the medication and that thing makes you hungry 2 hours later, you go back and eat something again. So it's such a vicious cycle. And eventually the fat storage just keeps seeing the twin cycle, as we read about. I mean, I think at the end of the day.
So, Malhar, what about this huge explosion happening of 100 plus kg population? What's your take on them?
And it's worrisome on one end, but I think it's again very difficult to convince people that their children are overweight. Like, there are children at 15 and 20 who weigh as much as I do now. And it's just become the normal because the parents are 25 kgs heavier than them at that current situation. So I think the new normal in college has become 70 to 80 kgs for urban Indian children at a full height. You know, when you achieve your full height, it's very critical that that height, that weight be as low as possible, because your entire life you'll be flirting around that number. And if you have set up a normal of 90 when you were 18 years old, your whole life you're going to have go through pregnancies for so many things, and then 90 just becomes the baseline, which is crazy. So I think whatever has to be set up has to be set up in adolescence, and the mothers have to learn to control the maid servants who do the last mile delivery of the oil, the sugar, the salt, and every food can't be master chef. You know, we have got so used to gourmet meals even at home, and children want taste in every bite. And I understand a working woman or even the maid servant is working. She also wants to see a happy look on the kid's face, and it's the one meal everyone's eating together. So you're putting it on the plate, and the child makes a face, and everyone gets more. So the tendency is put some extra oil and salt and sugar there and get happy. But as we all know, these substances are highly addictive and we need larger doses. So over a period of a 10-year childhood, the child now needs 3 teaspoons of sugar in tea or Bonvita just to drink it. So this is what has happened. It was there even our time. We all drank gazillion amounts of Pepsi, Coke and everything. But to some extent we turned it around. Those of us who did. Some are still smoking. Some are still drinking that stuff. But they are paying the price 20 years later. But that generation is going to pay the price a lot earlier. And I think that is the crux of the issue, is the obesity child epidemic. The adults, I'll just blame them, because you're in control of the money that you're making and the purchases that you're making in supermarkets. I mean, in the next few episodes, we'll talk about starting to make family level shifts, from a even whether it's event reactive or non-event reactive. You don't have to have someone turn diabetic or have a heart attack to turn the kitchen around. You can just do it after this session. But to make small steps, like why nobody in my house is obese? Why nobody in my house is diabetic? Why? I mean, we have 70 plus year olds, we have 16-year-olds, not a single person is obese. Why? Because there are certain last mile deliveries that are controlled from the maid servants. Because in an upper middle class Indian household, obesity is just running amok. And we are treating it like a sign of affluence, which is insane. And it's just insane that we are justifying the ability to say that, oh, no, it's, we have a very rich social life. Now, that's not fair, because you're compromising that child's quality of life 15 years from now just for your display of affluence. And I think that's criminal, for lack of a better word. As a parent, that's a criminal act. I mean, you can't be. I've seen children with 40 pairs of shoes who don't play a single sport. And I agree. There's a lot of rental income coming in, and everybody's got share market passive incomes coming in. So the money is there, but the values aren't getting translated. That physical activity on weekends, no. It's go to the badminton class, click 3 photos, grammable photos, upload them, and the chapter is closed. And everybody wins. The mother wins, the child wins, the father wins, because you've got validation, appreciation from somewhere. But hello, the very act of what you went there for, nobody's talking about that. But coming back to the first point, we love talking about sport. We love watching it, which is again a very Western thing. We know the statistics of every single batsman, just as the West knows their baseball and everything else. But there's no attempt to become that. And not even to seek inspiration and just go a little bit here. You just do your half an hour of exercise. So I think parents are largely to blame. We are treating children like adults today, expecting them to make decisions. But in my book, you are not an adult till you don't control money. The day you have your own money, you step out of home and make choices. Till that time, you're not an adult, you're dependent. So when a child is dependent on you and you are making those choices, and you're blaming Swiggy and other apps, that's not how it works. Somewhere I think leading by example by the parent has to be a new normal. And I think then that's how we'll discuss in the next few episodes what what we've been in a way preaching to the choir for the last so long, you know. But I think let's hope people get inspired with this.
Yeah, it's a nice beginning in terms of just exploring the crazy pandemic and social structure, the emotional constructs, the beliefs, and the complexities that are there. And it's going to be fun interacting more on uh, deeper stuff, maybe family level, maybe different diets that are there. We could just share
Yeah.
more and see what can be done.
We hope you liked this session. It was a short take on both our thoughts on the current diabetes and obesity epidemic among Indians. And do share with us in the comment section what you would like us to cover, and we'll gladly go into there. And yes, for our existing people, we know you look forward to these connection moments. I will pull his leg a little bit. There's a lot of gyan filled below that curly hair, but we will now slowly drag it out. Okay?